Ambassador Talmiz Ahmad, if I can come back to you, Israel's Operation Lion to me was a huge eye opener on the kind of intel they had on the whereabouts of all these top officials of the Iranian army, the Revolutionary Guard, and all that. Israel clearly has very deep assets in that country, but where will it go?
We are suffused in misinformation, falsehood, lies all the time. Very often, certain justifications are provided after the event. I mentioned to you that the Israeli project has failed in terms of damaging or seriously annihilating any nuclear program. It has not worked. So it has changed the entire process and said that, oh, it was always our intention was to do regime change. So from certain sources, not official sources, certain sources, because there are pro-Israel elements all across the United States, some of them have said that this whole business of dialogue was completely, it was a sham. It is not the case at all. 5 rounds took place. What is worrying is one particular matter. In the 4 rounds, the Americans accepted a degree of enrichment. The
I
percentage
see.
was not mentioned in the public domain. Abruptly, suddenly, in the 5th round in Rome, you found the Americans insisting on zero enrichment, knowing
Ah.
full well that the Iranians will reject it. They still
Mm.
agreed to the 6th round. That is where Donald Trump started going public and said, I have given them a deal. I've offered it to them. I've given them 60 days. They better make up their mind. I have a feeling that that is something which will be investigated later on. Because even the JCPOA allowed a degree of enrichment. The Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty also allows for enrichment. This is a highly technical matter as to what to do with the enriched uranium. In the case of JCPOA, whatever the Iranians had earlier above the prescribed limit had been shipped off to Moscow, to
That's
Russia.
right.
Any
That's
of
right.
these things could have been done. My view is, as of today, that the
Mhm.
Israelis deliberately initiated the conflict so that the 6th round would not take place because they feared a deal. This is more or less now consensual. More and more people are saying this. Now, what did Donald Trump do? Donald Trump, instead of expressing ire about about this preemptive attack, the preventative they called it attack. It is preemptive in terms of scuttling the dialogue. He called it excellent because he gets a charge. He gets a charge with the idea of war. He wants to do business. He's a deal maker, but somehow war and destruction and killing, assassination seems to bring out the Julius Caesar that is inside him. He loves
Mhm.
to strut as a general. You saw that he took this parade and was standing there and was feeling very, very good about himself. Makes a statement. I've got very big plan, not just a ceasefire, very big. It's going to be big. And he says, I want unconditional surrender at a country with which you are not at war and with
Yeah.
whom you have never indicated. What is Iran supposed to do in terms of unconditional surrender? That they are supposed to come out? Where? Are you supposed to meet at a table in Versailles, in some room, and some sword is going to be put on the table? This has become not, it's nonsensical, it is farcical. Now there is
Yeah.
another load of absolute rubbish, and that is the Iranian people are hostile to their regime. Now, whether anyone is hostile or not, in every country you have a wide variety of opinion. But the
That is true.
minute you threaten that country, they all come together. If you remember, when the Iraqis attacked Iran in 1980, they were
Yes.
under the impression this is a broken country. The armed
Absolutely.
forces are broken, the regime has barely taken charge, their institutions are not in place, and everything is very confusing. The minute the Iraqis crossed the border, the country became one. They were
That's
able to
true.
hold their own. And if there is any parallel you need today, you have got the Iraq experience of 1980 to 88 staring at you. Look at the damage that the Iranians suffered. Day after day, week after week, month after month, the entire international community supported Iraq. They allowed them to use chemical weapons, and yet the Iranian did not surrender. It is only
That's true.
right at the end that they agreed to a truce, which he called a bitter challenge. But Iraq, Iran is therefore, you cannot destroy a regime on the basis of war. What you are doing is not regime change; it is destruction of Iraq as an end in itself. What the Americans tried to do in Iraq, you
Yes,
remember, they
with
said we
Saddam
will send
Hussein.
them back to the old Stone Age. That's what
Yes.
the Americans do, so that the country doesn't recover. It takes 20 years to recover. But do remember that that assault upon Iraq gave birth to Zarqawi and the
Hmm.
Islamic State. And
That's
that was the
true.
scourge. Look at how the American occupation was undermined by the very forces that emerged as a result of the occupation. So the
Hmm.
Americans should have caution here that there is no such thing as regime change that can be done by military force from outside. And
Yeah.
also, finally, the Iranians have an Islamic republic. But the Islamic Republic is not monochromatic. It has such a wide variety of people who have been at its head. There have been very different people: Rafsanjani, Khatami, Rouhani, Pezeshkian. I would say to you that the present president, Pezeshkian, was truly committed to changing the scenario at home and having a new diplomatic initiative abroad. Indeed, I would say to you that the Israelis were terrified that Pezeshkian might actually do certain outreach to the Americans and possibly, just possibly, come to certain arrangements. Israel thrives on Iran US conflict and is a very major instigator of that.